Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the private server Everlasting. We are once again with our Scrapper, Silver Phoenix, and we are working on this story arc about Operation Worldwide Red. And what happened last time is we found Dr. Lamar, and she told us about Wildflower, and I didn't show on screen, but I did go and shut down Operation Wildflower, and now Crimson has asked us to meet with Indigo, who may have more information about the Malta and what they're really up to. I didn't record the last mission that I did where I was fighting the Malta and shutting down these computers. I did actually get killed once. I fought a boss who rolled 2 1s and a couple of other rolls below 16 right in a row and killed me off. So anyway, I also didn't have the right inspirations. Didn't have enough heals. I think I didn't have any heals when I was facing him. So sorry I didn't record that, but I didn't know that was going to happen. You might have enjoyed seeing me ignominiously bite the dust. But anyway, we're back with Indigo, and she says, "It's good to see you, Silver Phoenix. I found a small facility that's being used as a front by our friends. It was used as a secure data transfer node until recently, but with all the trouble they've had with your interference in Operation Worldwide Red, they haven't finished fixing things there. This presents a perfect opportunity to compromise part of their network and do some snooping. What I need you to do is to physically infiltrate that base, defeat any and all Malta operatives there so they can't sound the alarm, and then use a little device I'll give you to get into their network. Easy. The guard should be light, so this one shouldn't be too much trouble for you. I have the feeling that it's going to probably be tons of trouble. We're still on ×1 players and +2, level +2. I keep thinking it's the final mission of this arc because it's been a really long arc. But I guess this one probably isn't. I suppose we could set it to ×2 +2. Shall we do that? Let's do that. Make it a little more challenging. So team size of 2. And now we go to Talos Island and we will see what we can do about the Malta. And she said it's easy, it's really interesting. A couple of the ones they said, oh, it's hard to bring friends in. I was like, well, actually, this wasn't hard. I don't know why you asked me to bring friends. So it's almost like they're saying it's going to be hard when it's not. I wonder them saying it's easy and it's going to be hard, but we'll see. So one of the things that I noticed, again, when I was fighting these Malta bosses, and the one boss rolled like a 1.7 and a 1.8 against me in a row. I had him almost floored. He had like a 15% chance to hit, and those two hit right in a row. Those killed me. But before they hit, I was already down to like half hit points, and then the first one took me down to like red line to this spot, and then the second one killed me. But he'd also hit me on a 15% chance several times before. So I mean, yeah, he had a 50% chance, but he was 15% chance, but he was hitting me more like 50% of the time. And I started thinking about, I've talked about how in the past, I've talked about how I feel like one roll that's high causes the next roll to be high. One roll that's low causes the next roll to be low, and so you get these streaks. And okay, get this guy. I'm too late for him. So you get these streaks, and so I've talked about how I feel like the hit rolls are streaky. Wow. I talked about how I feel like they're streaky, but I haven't really. It's been very hard for me to describe exactly what I'm talking about, and I finally hit on while I was playing last night and noticing, the 2 1s in a row and that sort of thing. I finally think I've figured out, what word I want to use to describe what I'm talking about. And that word is a statistical term called autocorrelation. And for those of you who may not know anything about statistics, in statistics, one of the things you want to know when you're studying numbers, when you're studying data, say population growth rates, if you're an ecologist or something like that, you want to know if the numbers that you're seeing in a sequence of numbers are independent. That is, the value of one number in the first case doesn't affect what the next number is going to be. Are the numbers, is the sequence a sequence of independent numbers, or are the numbers related to each other? Are they correlated? And so, for example, a die, when you roll a die, every roll is independent. I gotta get this guy here. He's gonna get the auto turret. So, if you roll a die, right, you roll a 1. What's the chance you're going to roll another 1? Well, it's 1 in 6, right? Because there's no higher chance or lower chance that you're going to roll a particular number, right? Rolling a 1 on a die doesn't, like, cause the 1 to be gravitationally more likely to come up the next time, right? It doesn't work that way. It's entirely, completely random. You flip a coin, you get heads this flip. What's the chance you're going to get heads the next flip? 50-50, right? There's no increased chance of getting another head because you already got one. That's a regular type of random number draw or a number sequence, right? But an autocorrelation is when something is positively autocorrelated. That means sapper. When something is positively autocorrelated, that means that that one occurrence of it increases the chance of having a second occurrence of it. So if we go back to our die roll example. Oh, there was another sapper that I didn't see. If we go back to our die roll example, if you have... Or did I miss that sapper and attack the wrong guy? I'm too busy talking. If you go back to our die roll example, you roll a 1. If there's, instead of having a 1/6 chance of getting another 1, there's a maybe 50-50 chance you're going to get another 1 because the first one causes the probability of a 1 to coming up again to be higher. That's autocorrelation, right? And a really good example of autocorrelated numbers would be like the daily high temperature in your town, right? It isn't the case when it's 95 today that it's just as likely tomorrow that it's going to be 95 as 19. If it's 95 degrees Fahrenheit today in your town right now, then tomorrow the chances are it's going to be around 90, right? It might not be, it might be 87 or something, but it's almost certainly not going to be 12 tomorrow, right? Those kinds of extremes tend not to happen because the temperature in any particular area is autocorrelated, and it's autocorrelated. Oh, I missed. I didn't get this guy in time. It's autocorrelated because there's heat in the atmosphere, right? And so that heat remains tomorrow after today. And so if it was really hot today, some of that heat remains in the moisture in the air and in the air itself and in the ground. And so it will be relatively warm tomorrow because it's got some of the heat from today. And so the temperature today is not independent from the temperature yesterday. It's positively related to it. It's similar to it. And so, where is this guy? Did he go outside? I can't get out. Why can't I get out? It's because of the dead bodies. Alright. So, my sense of what's going on in City of Heroes is that the random number generator is generating numbers that are, for lack of a better term, autocorrelated. That one number, that a high number is more likely to produce another high number in the next roll in the sequence, right? And a low number is more likely to get you another low number. So that's why you see things like 2 1s in a row more often than I think you should, than you would expect if it was random chance. Now, I can't prove this. I actually looked into getting Hero Stats to see if it would log things for me, but it turns out Hero Stats was working on the Homecoming servers for a while, but when they upgraded to the 64-bit client, it stopped working. So I can't actually log the 2-hit rolls. But I think it would probably be the case that you would see a lot of positively correlated, autocorrelated values. Where are these guys coming from? I didn't even see them. There's like a whole host of them. What the heck? Come on. I have no idea where these guys came from. So, what I've always felt is that there's positive autocorrelation between the numbers in City of Heroes that are rolled on the random number generator. Now, I don't know why that is, but that's the sense that I get just from watching the numbers go by and looking at them, and the hit and miss streaks and everything. It seems like the numbers are autocorrelated. Now, maybe they're not, but that's certainly the impression that they give me. This is quite the set of spawns here. Come here, you. This guy's more dangerous than the other guys. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'd prove it. There are tests for autocorrelation and statistics. But one of the questions I have is, I don't know exactly how the numbers are generated relative to each other. So, for example, I'm fairly sure this is object-oriented code, and each character, each NPC is an object, right? And so if I roll high 3 times in a row, well, in between those 3 high rolls, I'm getting maybe the NPCs are rolling really low, right? And so you say, well, if you look at the sequence here, right, I rolled an 18, they rolled a 35, one rolled a 2, I rolled a 90, one rolled an 82. So, if I missed 3 times in a row, well, there were other numbers that were higher or lower than the ones I was rolling in between those. But the question is, it really about the number seed, right? The random number seed is, all random number generators in a computer are not truly random, right? They're pseudo-random. And what's basically happening is, you set up a seed, which is like, pretty much the computer's got a list of like a random number table in its head, right? And it's a big long list of random numbers. And when you ask it to generate a random number, it picks a number from the list. Well, how does it know, like, which number to pick on the list? Well, it starts somewhere on the list and then just goes from there. So they say the 75th number is the first number it picks, and that number is a 3. You have a 3, and then the next time it's asked for a roll, it does the 77th number, and then the 78th number, and then the 79th number. Right? And so the seed is sort of like where you start on the list. And so if you start with a random number seed of 1, you start with the first number on the list. And every time you pick the first number out of the list that's the seed of 1, it will always be the same. That number is 37.2. Every time you start with a random number seed of 1 and you pick the first number in the list, it will be 37.2. And so the question is, does each character have his own list, his own number seed? Or if it is a server-wide seed, I really don't know. But one of the things that can happen, so one of the things you do is, to really randomize things, you need to give the computer a new random number seed every so often, right? And it may be that that they're doing that in City of Heroes, and they probably are. One of the tricks you can use is to use the system clock to generate the seed, right? If the random number seed is like the number of seconds since October 1st, 1980, that's going to be different every second, and you'll get a new seed every second, right? And that works, except I've run simulation models before where the computer does more than one calculation a second, right? And so what happens is, if you're doing, if you're generating a random number off of a seed that's based on the system clock, which is in seconds, and you generate 25 random numbers in the same second, you're going to generate the same 25 numbers, right? Because the seed hasn't had time to change. And so, or you'll generate the same numbers, random numbers from the same list is the best way to describe it, from the same sequence. So what I think may be happening, right, is my character attacks this guy. So she has a random number seed, right? And it picks the first number in the list. And that number is 1.5, so she hits, right? And then she attacks again in less than a second, and it just goes back to that list and generates another 1, or something like a 1.5, because it hasn't moved off of the second yet, and so it's generating a random number with the same seed. That's what I think may be happening. I'm not really sure. Oh, there's a sapper. Gotta get him. So anyway, that's my explanation of what I was talking about, many episodes ago, when I was talking about the 2-hit rolls and how they seem to be you know, they seem to be contagious. You know, a high one causes you to get another high one. That is really autocorrelation is what I was talking about. So I don't want to do this, make this a statistics lesson or a random number generator lesson. But I just thought about this last night because of the highly unlikely circumstance that happened to me where the enemy rolled 2 1s in a row after having rolled some other very low numbers. And I thought, well, if the numbers are autocorrelated, that actually would explain why this is happening, right? And if it's drawing the numbers off of a random number table and you're generating the numbers too fast, you're generating requests for a random number too fast for it to change the seed, that may be why you see like high numbers happening over and over, like 2 or 3 times in a row. And it always seems to happen 2 or 3 times in a row and then change. It's like, okay, well, now the system clock maybe has advanced enough that it can sorry, I'm reorganizing my inspirations. The system clock has advanced enough that you get a new seed. I don't know, but anyway, that's just sort of the impression that I get of how this seems to work. Engineers, and there's a boss. All right, so we're going to use a loot for this because those bosses seem to hit me really a lot. They seem to just be incredibly accurate. And even with a loot on, look at him hitting me. That's the other thing that I feel like I notice is when an enemy has a very high chance to hit you. Like when he's got a 50% chance to hit you, they don't seem to roll a lot of really low rolls. But when he's got almost no chance to hit you, look at this guy. He's hitting. How many times has he hit me? And he's got to be pretty much floored, right? And he's hit me that many times. Look at it, he hit me again. So we're gonna look at the hit rolls when I'm done beating this guy up. But I have 106 defense, so he has to be floored. So let's take a look at the 2 hit rolls. He missed me. He had a 15% chance to hit, right? But we know he hit me several times. He's got a 15% chance every time. He rolled a 5. He rolled a 99. No. I rolled a 99. Look at this. So I rolled a 95. I had a 95% chance to hit. I rolled 2 rolls in a row over 95 because I missed with a 99. And then the streak breaker forced me to hit. But I thought he hit me a bunch of times in a row. So he rolled a 10. He rolled a 9. You see? So it's not like he didn't just roll 2 numbers below a 15. He rolled a 10 and a 9, which are very close to each other. Right? So that looks auto-correlated. And then here we have 2 more numbers, a 95 and a 97. Very close to each other. He rolled a 5. Right? So I don't know. You'd have to look at this, 2 40s in a row. So I don't know. You'd have to do a real statistical analysis on this to see exactly whether this is autocorrelated or not. But it seems like there are lots of pairs and triples of numbers that 2 or 3 times in a row, the numbers within like plus or minus 3 or 4 of each other come up. And that would be... so who did I miss? That would be what you would expect of autocorrelated sequences of numbers. So, I don't know, guys, if it's autocorrelated or not, but it certainly seems so. But that's enough about that. So let's take a look at what did we miss here? I mean, these are small levels. Defeat all the Malta agents. this back on. I don't know what I missed. I don't hear any glowies. Is there maybe a guy up here? No. Defeat all Malta agents. Oh, there's a guy. How did I miss? Oh, that's the guy that ran away, and I thought... I don't know where he went. Alright. I thought he was there, and then I came out and looked for him and didn't see him. Alright, so we've completed the mission. Let's head out. And we'll call Crimson, who says, another job well done, Silver Phoenix. Indigo sends her regards. She's also sent along the first batch of data she's been able to pull. She doesn't know how long she'll have until they discover the tap, so she's working as fast as she can. The first bit should knock your socks off. She found part of Malta's overall plan for Operation Worldwide Red, or what the plan would have been if you hadn't stopped it. They wanted to stabilize U.S.-China relations, then use Wildflower to kill off select heroes, including yourself, and have China take credit for it through their fake ambassador. With relations already unstable, they could move on with their plan to start pushing a limited war between the U.S. and China by employing compromised intelligence personnel to fake reports. By the time everyone realized what was happening, it would be too late, the war would be on, and they could bring any hero they wanted under their control once they got a new version of Might for Right passed. We don't have to worry about that so much, thanks to you, but the men who attempted to perpetrate this scheme are still at large, being protected by the Dreadnought Red Group, which brings us to the second part. When you were heading to stop Project Wildflower, Malta activated the Kronos-class Titan cyborg to attack you. Turns out that was a local boy. It was assembled here in Paragon City by the Dreadnought Red Group. Indigo's working on where it might have been put together. Once we have that, we may be close to Director 17 himself. Then he says he's got a target. They could take us one step closer to Director 17. Tell me when you're ready, and we can put the last traces on Operation Worldwide Red in its grave. And so let's go ahead. And he says, Indigo and I have pinned down the location of the Malta group assembled that first where the Malta group assembled that first Kronos class cyborg. The bad news is that they have parts and supplies to make at least one more. Indigo thinks that the place may contain valuable intel, and I agree with her. Your first objective is to search for that. I also think that the base commander, codenamed Dreadnought Red 390, may also have some information. Your second objective will be to defeat him and his men. So, now we're going to go after the base leader and his men. I don't know if this is going to be an elite boss. I'm going to leave it on +2 × 2. We're doing okay. I may want to go grab a few more heals, though, to deal with all the times they hit me. So we're going to grab that first. Quickest place is just to go to the hospital. We're about almost halfway to level 49 when we'll get our last power. I still have no idea what it's going to be. If I can't think of anything else, I'll probably default to Hasten, just because you can't ever go wrong with Hasten, although I really didn't want it for this character. Yeah, unlike many people, I build for concept, not for uberness. So I readily acknowledge that this character is not, like, there's no way it would do well in PvP, and it's not, you know, designed for like the high-end content. It's just designed to be fun to play and let me get my missions done. And it's also designed to have a concept and not just be a bag of powers that are there to sort of farm points. Speaking of farming, so the leader of my supergroup, Nina, she's a really good builder of characters, and I guess she knows a lot about how to build for farming, and so somebody asked her to make a post on the Discord to explain to people, how to do farming. And I read this and I was just, I don't know, my jaw was on the floor as to what people do when they farm. I mean, you have to have a specific type of archetype, usually a brute or a tanker, or sometimes a controller, depending. Within the archetype, you need a certain power set. Like she said, Spines Fire Brute is the best. And it's the best because Spines is one of the melee classes that has the most area effect. So you can defeat things very quickly. And Fire has really good healing and resistance. And it does some damage. And so you can do toxic damage with the Spines. And you can do fire damage, which isn't resisted very often with the with the fire, and you've got good defense, and you can just plow through mobs. And what they do is they just take an architect mission and they just play it over and over again. And there are certain architect missions that are designed for fire farming, and those are the ones you take. And so so what she said was, when you do this, right, you start with the same kind of enhancements I had early on. Your generic invention enhancements, your single order enhancements, whatever, until you get to level 50. And then at level 50, now it's time to start farming. So you start building using sets and getting you start with sort of the weaker sets, and then you build build into better sets as you gain more influence. And she added it up. I guess it's like 1.3 billion influence to build the final version of the farming build. 1.3 billion, guys. This character hasn't earned 100 million and she's almost level 50, right? So when you think about how much that is, I don't know. I could never do that. I feel like that's just like you have to farm to get enough influence to have a farmer, right? It's just not something that I would find fun. I prefer this. I prefer doing my story arcs. I prefer reading the stories and the dialogue and treating my character like a character and not a farmer. So yeah, I'm only ever gonna get the powers that are appropriate for this character, the enhancements, right, that are appropriate for this character. I'll show you in a sec, but I mean, I certainly wanted enhancements that would benefit me for these stats up here, but also if we look, right, I took, for example, and I spent quite a bit in it, Touch of Death, which is a level 40 max, right? It doesn't go above level 40, so it's not the best, right? I took this level 40 max enhancement set. Why? Because it's a Touch of Death, and it goes in Cobra Strike, which is my claw to the face, as a combat move, and it makes sense that Cobra Strike would be a Touch of Death, right? So it seems, in character to me to have that, and so that's why I have it. I don't have it because I think that it makes me uber. Quite arguably, there are other enhancement sets that might be better, but this one's got the flavor that I want. Right? It's making my Cobra Strike be a Touch of Death. So, I mean, you can't do that with every single one of the sets, but when I can, I try to, and the reason I do that is because, again, I build for the concept. So, just the whole idea of farming like that, especially billions. And then she was saying if you really want to do it sort of the pro way, as it were, you need to dual box and have 2 accounts, and you have your farm character in the mission, excuse me, farming it for influence, and then you take your regular non-farm character on another account, like your main, that you want to level up, and you leave it in the mission kind of just AFK, which means away from keyboard, and you let the farmer farm the mission for influence, and then the other character is basically sitting at the door being farmed into higher experience. So I don't know, I can't play that way. Okay, I screwed this up because I didn't see these guys over here. Alright, we need a little more defense. It's getting hit a lot. there's a lot of lieutenants in this spawn, and the auto turrets are not making it easy. Oh, now I can't get that guy. They keep knocking him off the platform. Wow. Come on. And these guys are hitting me like I don't even have any toggles on. Yeah, the gunslingers are insanely accurate. So are the auto turrets. Alright, we should be alright now that we've whittled them down. I do want to point out, I am not at all criticizing people who farm. If that's what they want to do, if that's how they have fun playing the game, that's fine, more power to them. I just can't imagine doing it myself, and I absolutely would not enjoy it. Man, that was what, 4 or 5 lieutenants? Oh, great. At least I got him before he summoned. And they are accurate. Not this guy. The gunslinger is accurate. Okay. Wow. And there's Dreadnought Red. He's just a regular boss. But we got a sapper there, we got a boss, we got the operations engineer, which means we're going to face an auto turret as well. I'm going to go ahead and pop a loot. Okay, we took him out. Look at this, he's still hitting me through a loot. Again. $106 defense, and he's hitting me repeatedly. Alright, I gotta pull him around the corner because I don't want to fight the other guys. Come on. See if we can knock him down. There we go. At least they don't have knockback resistance. Wow. That was some heck of a fight. Now, I did ask for this, right? I mean, this is a plus 2 times 2 mission. So I asked for a tough fight, and we certainly got one. Right, and that is, by the way, what I want. I mean, yeah, we had to use a bunch of inspirations, but we survived, and that is kind of... I think that's better than going through a mission and never even touching your inspiration tray, and never needing a loot, and just crushing your way through the mission. That's not something that's fun for me. I prefer to have it be a little bit tenser. Not that I want a huge amount of tension. I've said in the past I don't like tension necessarily, but I want it to at least be a challenge. Okay, so we've completed this, and I'll take a look at the clues. And the clues say, message for Director 17. So we found a message in a Malta Titan assembly base. It's a memo for the assembly base leader to a field agent
to make sure that Director 17 has been notified that a second Cronus-class Titan has been made is ready for it, and is ready ahead of schedule to be used against me. Even more important, though, the special instructions for where and how to deliver the message. The field operative is instructed to make sure that Director 17 receives the message covertly at his cover job working in the CIA. I have a half an impression that this is going to be Crimson. After you defeated him in the Malta group, the Titan assembly base, Dreadnought Red 390 Cursed, you think you've won Silver Phoenix? Hardly. You're already too late. Already finished the second Cronus-class Titan and will crush you at the Director's orders. This is one base of many, one base that we can afford to lose. You'll never stop the Malta. And now we're going to contact this guy. And he says they built a second Titan. I was afraid of that. And all that you found confirms it. They probably rushed it into production after they had to deploy that first one. That's some kind of bad news. But at least it's good to know about it. What's better, however, is the other piece of information you found. Director 17 is hidden within the CIA and is still in town. I'm going to tap some CIA resources and see if we can narrow the possibilities or even force Director 17 out into the open. I have a funny feeling, and I have no specific memory of this story arc, but I have a funny feeling that Crimson is the CIA operative and he's been screwing with us all along. Could be Indigo too, but I just have a feeling it's Crimson. I don't know why, I just do. It seems like an appropriate twist. If it's an insider, if it's a traitor, like I don't know who else is it going to be, if not Crimson or Indigo, right? And I just don't think it's Indigo. All right, guys, we have done a couple of missions. I've talked about autocorrelation, and I've talked about a little bit about farming, and I think we'll stop here for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the private servers.